All right. Ashley Watts, thank you so much for joining me on Alumless Takes. It's so great to speak with you. Ashley, as the director of annual giving at Georgia State University, I know this is an incredibly busy time of the year for you, having come off of the Giving Tuesday sequence after Thanksgiving and all the end of year giving campaigns that are on the calendar. It's great to see you. Thank you for making time for this conversation.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Delighted to be here.
Well, I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about some of the things that you've learned over the course of the last month or so, this busy flurry of activity that sort of lends itself to some interesting bits about trends of giving at Georgia State University. What kind of stands out in your mind as sort of some interesting environmental things, some learning points that you sort of had some takeaways after this run up?
My biggest lesson this kind of end of year giving season was from ended up doing a college appeal, and it was a video appeal sent to, specific to all the colleges and units. It had a message from a student that graduated, and it really kind of pulled on some themes of nostalgia and kind of brag points and with an ask at the end. And it did not do great. It really made me take a look back at our previous video appeals. I did some analysis of the results of the appeals and some really interesting takeaways. Well, first of all, the video was too long. And I'm
Okay.
like, in retrospect, I see that now. And what it really made me reflect on is the fact that we've been typically using video mostly for engagement and not for solicitation. And I think we just didn't like the switch didn't flip in my mind that, okay, if there's an ask, we need to get to it because people are going to see this. And I think people just really thought this was a feel good update on how their college was doing, which was great, but that wasn't really the purpose of the appeal. Looking back at some previous video appeals, I saw similar things that the video appeals really didn't bring in the dollars that we were looking for. And so I think that really helped us to kind of reframe and refocus like how we will do that going forward, being much more straightforward with the ask, being much more concise, and really just getting to that point a lot faster. And if separating the engagement part from the ask part, I think, the waters got a little muddied. We were trying to do too much. And I think it was great for the engagement part. But again, when it came to the ask, I think we got to get to it. So yeah, that's what we'll do in the future when we're especially using videos for
Yeah.
appeals, just kind of getting straight to it and not
Yeah.
belaboring the point. On a
It-
brighter note, has just, and I don't know, maybe all the good feelings from the video helped, but we've made over $100,000 on our calendar in appeal. That's the biggest one we've had since I started. So
Yeah. Now, did the video have connectivity with Giving Tuesday? Did you do like, anything specific to Giving Tuesday?
yeah, so it was deployed around Giving Tuesday, but we didn't lean into the Giving Tuesday messaging. And I do feel like that was a missed opportunity. In the previous year's Giving Tuesday appeal was just an email appeal, and we really leaned into Giving Tuesday. We sent an early email, we sent a few on the day of. So we really leaned into it, and then that appeal did perform better. So I think we really got to continue to lean into Giving Tuesday if we're going to be deploying things in that around that time.
Yeah, it's kind of like either lean into the messaging or wait, right?
Yes.
And sort of separate from Giving Tuesday.
Hmm.
Sort of thinking more broadly in
Hmm.
terms of strategies and tactics that you think have been successful at Georgia
Hmm.
State, what comes to mind across the various channels that
Hmm.
you use, segment strategies, what's working?
When we're really intentional about our messaging, we've seen the greatest success. And a specific example, we actually won a case award for our fall appeal last year. And we really lean into this idea of creating opportunity for students. And I think when we really lean into like a strong message and storytelling, that really works for us. The appeal was it was an accordion mailer and it was illustrated. It had very few words on it, but I think it just painted such a clear picture. I think just really leaning into like a strong message, not overworking it, I think that really, really worked well for us. We re-engaged a lot of donors who were lapsed in that appeal, which was one of the goals, was to re-engage those lapsed donors. And I think it really comes from leaning into the identity of Georgia State. Georgia State is known for opportunity. It's known for anybody can come here, they can get a degree, they can be successful, and really just like leaning into the personality and the persona of Georgia State. And I think that really resonates, especially with our alum, because that's why most of them came here. They're like, this is a place that can give me a shot. And I think when we lean into that and when our whatever we're doing, whether that's an email, whether that's a mailer, when we really lean into that and focus on that, I think that's when we've seen the most success with our campaigns. And I don't think
Yeah.
I think the channel is a little bit agnostic in that, like, you just gotta really lean into that messaging in a really clear way.
But really just the values, the
Mhm.
brand, right?
Yeah.
Really sort of making sure that it's clear and evident
Hmm.
works really well.
Yeah.
We definitely are operating in a period of often schools dealing with lean staffs, with
Hmm.
reduced budgets. I guess I'm interested in asking you about if you had one wish in terms of resources that you
Hmm.
don't currently have access to, but you think would make the biggest impact on your work. Like, what would you say?
Yeah, and I was struggling with this question a little bit. But I think for me, it boils down to data. I don't know if that is a person, a product, or just more hours in the day. I think being able to really um, have the tools and resources to really, and the time to really dive into the data. One of the takeaways from the college, the video that we did at the end of this year was that the smaller colleges did better. It was like the more, it was like I don't know how to, I'm at a loss for words to describe it, but I think just that it felt more personalized. I think, when it gets too big and when you don't have like that personalization with the donor, when they don't feel like that connection, you don't get as good of a result. And so I think just being able to really like dive in, I'd love to, like, we know about our average donor, but I'd love to like be able to create personas for each of the colleges and really kind of drill down on what works best for different segments. And that comes down to data analysis tools and resources. So I really think that would be the thing that would help me to be able to better deploy our different campaigns.
And you work from a centrally positioned role
Mhm.
within advancement as the annual giving leader at a big decentralized university. You were just kind of describing in some of the answers to your questions,
Yeah.
right? Some of the ongoing strategies and tactics that you have deployed and some of the challenges you're facing. But what do you think works the best in terms of creating collaboration and coordination with your colleagues around the campus?
The first thing that came to my mind and what I always am looking to do and trying to do is to be a value add. I think that's the biggest open door to collaboration with the different colleges and units is how can we add value to what you're already doing. As you know, prior to this, I worked in career services and alumni relations, and that was always my ticket in, to a space was to be of value. Like, how can I add to what you're already doing? How can I enhance what it is that's already going on? So one of the things that we've been talking about recently is, as you said, we're decentralized. Our gift officers are in cohorts. So it'll be a group of gift officers in several colleges. And so one thing we've already discussed is meeting with the cohorts and their communicators to really see like what are you doing? What are your goals? What are the goals of the college? How can we use the content that you're already creating? How can we enhance it? How can we piggyback off of it? So I think just that collaboration and always going in from a standpoint of like, help me figure out what I can do for you, not what can you do for me, and trying to be a area that adds value, that communicates well, that listens well. I think that's so important as we're getting results from campaigns and as we're getting
Yeah.
feedback from colleges and units, making sure that we're keeping that top of mind. But I really look at our unit as a service provider to the colleges and the units. And I think when you take your internal customers as seriously as you take your donors and your external customers, I think that's when you can have really good success in working in this kind of large decentralized environment.
I'm sure your partners around campus, lean on you for
Mhm.
strategy and resources and inspiration, coordination, and
Absolutely.
there's a lot that goes into that value add, but it makes total sense that you would be in an ongoing way, kind of thinking about ensuring that in
Mhm.
every interaction and the vibes that you're putting out,
Yeah.
right, are one of value add and not of like time suck.
Yeah, yeah, not just like, "Oh, I need this from you, I need that from you, do this for me, do that for me," because I think sometimes it can feel like that. I know from my standpoint, like sometimes I feel that pull of like, I really need this from this person, right? But that's not the best way to get what you need from someone. I don't think is to thinking about it in terms of your needs. I'm always reminding myself, like, even just in the little things like sending an email and I haven't gotten a response and I have to sit back and I have to be like, Ashley, this is your job. This is not their job. They have a whole other job. So always just kind of like putting yourself in their shoes and keeping that top of mind, I think has helped me to be successful when working with others.
Actually, the last question we love to ask on Alumless and also on Alumless Takes is for a recommendation of some sort. And it doesn't have to be advancement related. It could be anything, book,
Mhm,
podcast, movie, TV show. And hopefully coming off of the holiday vacation, you had a little downtime to enjoy some of those things. But
mhm.
what is your recommendation for listeners?
Yeah, so I have a go-to recommend for in any like professional setting, and that is always the Harvard Business Review Management Tip of the Day.
Okay.
Somebody told me about it years ago at a conference. You can subscribe, it's free, but it's such a valuable resource. There's always just things about how to handle conflict, how to communicate better, how to think about, different things just from a business perspective and a professional growth perspective. That's been like one of my favorite resources. And it takes about 5 minutes to read. There's always a link. You can dive deeper into the topic if you want to. And, everything's not going to be of value to you depending on what your work is, but I've always found it to be so helpful and I always recommend it to people since it's
Yeah.
been presented to me.
Does that arrive by email? Is that a
Yes.
subscription by email? Okay.
Yeah, it's just a email that you sign up for. You get it to your inbox daily. Like I said, it's just a few minutes read. Always super helpful. There's always something valuable, I feel like, that I can take away from them.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for making some time to share your thoughts on annual giving from your vantage point as the director of annual giving at Georgia State University. So grateful for you and best of luck on your endeavors as we forge ahead here in 2026.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Always a pleasure.